What's up, everyone? This is Devin, and we're back to talk Bama. Bama football, unfortunately, got beat late by Tennessee, and I don't know. They should have. Personally, they should have won that game. I think there was some bad offensive play calls at the end, and a drop pass by a receiver. Or I say we see this matchup 10 times, and Bama comes out on top like 6 or 7 of the 10. I mean, I think Tennessee would probably get another, 2, 3, wins if they played 10 times. But I think Bama comes out ahead if he played this game back 10 times. And it's just with, like I said, the late play calls. I mean, offensively, we put up a bunch of points. It was all a lot on defense side of things, but I think game management at the end there. I think we had the ball. We were running the ball well. We should have, I think, ran just a little bit more, killed a little bit more clock versus throwing. I mean, in my opinion. And but Bryce Young coming back, he definitely did not look like he came off an injury. Definitely with how many times he got hit. Definitely with the BS targeting call. I couldn't believe when they brought in the other whatever, the head ref or whatever that's bringing on the TV. He says that, oh, because of the motion of him lowering his shoulder, brought his head down, makes it a no or roughing the passer. Or because he made contact, I guess, with shoulder in the arm area before his head hit the face mask. To me, targeting has never been that. It has been, and targeting, if you lower the crown of your helmet and hit definitely face mask area, but anywhere on a player, or that to me is roughing the, or targeting. I mean, lowering the head and hitting someone with the crown of your helmet, whether it's whether it's in their chest, whether no, I mean, if you were merely making contact with the shoulder, his crown of his helmet should have never even came close to hitting face mask. As it should have been more across his chest. And so I just think that was a BS call. The pass interference calls that got called in the game and stuff. Personal opinion, and they should have just let it play out. But I can see where they were called. I got to be honest. Tennessee's a good team. I actually think they're going to beat Georgia. So Tennessee's a really good team and everything. Definitely don't have a great defense, but definitely has an offense that can score at whim. That's why at the end there, I would have definitely been trying to run the ball a little bit more, or really trying to kill that clock, because we watched them, have 2 70-yard plays that happened in 5 seconds. So it's like, why would you even give them a chance to have the ball back to get into field goal range if we missed? Like that, and if I think we would have ran more, we would have, one, killed more clock, and two, been closer overall in that. Now, the only other thing I can mention is that overall as a team, 17, I think, penalties, the most in college history, I think they said. And I don't know if it's in all college or just SEC play, but that is huge. And this is actually the second time that game, Texas A&M's game, I think there's a lot.
There was.
There was like 16 there. So I don't know if it's just really they're playing that bad, or if the refs are just calling the games tougher, or what. I mean, I guess what's your thoughts on the whole game as a whole, as not an Alabama, have
Right. Yeah, I mean it was such a fun game to watch. I mean this is kind of the game everybody expected. I had a bet on Tennessee to win, so I was kind of happy, but I kind of agree. I mean, Gibbs started out the game and it just looked like he could have ran as much as he wanted all game long. And you would have think Saban would have just kind of saw that, and he's like, I need to control the clock to win this. And
definitely at the
he
end there.
didn't. I mean,
And I
he
guess my
just
my other thing is, this looked like old school Bill O'Brien when he was at Texas, um, the Houston Texans, when he was the head coach there. He just could not make good play calls to manage the end of the games. There was lots of times where Texans would be up and he would blow it at the end, and because he couldn't manage the end of the game well with play call. And so that, just as an offensive coordinator, I don't know. I know he's the play caller, and Saban should have, hey, we need to run the ball more. Or I mean, that's kind of
mhm.
something you need to relay. But man, I couldn't believe play calls towards the end. I mean, yeah, it makes it frustrating
Yeah.
for me.
Oh, I'm sure you were breaking everything, but yeah, I mean I mean, Gibbs could have had 60 carries this game, and they could have controlled the clock the entire game. And he only had 24 for 103 yards. But I mean, yeah, the penalties, like you said, the penalties were pretty bad on both sides, but especially Alabama. And the defense is just we're not there. Yeah, Tennessee has a great quarterback, great offense. So does Alabama. But I mean, you would just it just doesn't make sense to me how defense players can be that bad. Like, I mean, I
Definitely
just
with the same
a lot of
player. I
it to
think
me is like,
the same player for Tennessee, the wide receiver there had what 4 touchdown passes, like big, just beat them deep. It's like at some point,
yeah,
hey, you can yell all day, hey, I would take like, I'd be like, let me yell at you all day for him, being a 20-yard pass down the field, but you don't get burnt deep. But when you get burned deep and giving up 60, 50, 70 yarders, no, that don't happen. Definitely not 4 in a row. Oh, it's like that's
right.
the one thing you got to make sure, definitely as a safety, to not get burned deep. I know you're coming
I mean,
down to try to get on the player, but oh, that is frustrating as well.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, every defense coordinator, defense in general should know, and it's a stop the run, and they really struggled against that. I mean, they had about 200 rushing yards total. Granted, their quarterback had like 60 of it, and a lot of those are just scrambling.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's still huge. And then obviously the deep ball, like you just said. So I mean, they just their defense was just really kind of a letdown. And I mean, I think last week's last week's podcast we said Alabama's defense has to stop them, and they just kind of. It
Yeah.
was frustrating to watch. I'm not a huge Alabama fan, but it was just like, come on, it was annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I try to be fairly non-biased, but it's I don't know. This game was frustrating. I mean, playing at Tennessee, I knew that was gonna be tougher. The fan base there was gonna be harder, but it wasn't like penalties that were like offside penalties. I mean, yeah, there was a couple of those, but it wasn't a ton of them for being at another home. It was pass interference and there was I think a couple where they were not lined up correctly type of penalties, and it's like people you need this is a big game. You got to be focused in a game like this, and I guess it just shows some. I know we have Bryce Young returning, Heisman winner last year. Or to me, this game might have just taken him. I know he played well, had crazy stats, but I could see having this loss on his record now taking him kind of out of the Heisman and chance. I mean, I think he'll still be a finalist, but I think he doesn't get it. Definitely look at Tennessee's quarterback. Definitely if they beat Georgia, uh, him looking at getting the Heisman. And I mean, just to kind of talk a couple other players, I mean, I'm surprised one person that's not currently on that list is Blake Corum for Michigan. I can't believe he's not on that list right
Un-
now. I mean, I know they have CJ
Unbelievable.
Stroud and I think there's a couple other players I can't think of right now that are on that list over. But yeah, Bryce Young for sure will be a finalist. It's hard. It would be hard, for not to give it to him again because of his stats and obviously looking at what he did coming into this game and versus what Alabama did last week without him type of deal. Looking at those two factors, obviously he's a playmaker for the team. He's a huge stat for the team, and so and that's what the Heisman in is. He's your key playmaker. That's you know biggest for your team, and so I definitely think. I don't think he's completely out of it, but he's getting close. Definitely, if they have another loss this season, I think he'll be out. He's gonna have to prove that he's deserving of it. I think they need a big win over Mississippi State, and we'll get that here just shortly. But right now, I'm looking at Alabama for the rest of the season is to win out for one, and in the regular season schedule, so that will put them in the SEC championship. And depending on who wins between Georgia and Tennessee, and I guess my hope would be Tennessee gets the win. So then you have Tennessee versus Bama for the SEC championship. Alabama can revenge this loss, us and uh, still try to make it into the CFP. Now the big question comes, so you have and it could get really tricky. So Alabama to make it into the only team that I think could stop them from making it to the SEC championship is Ole Miss. They're a pretty good game. Our team this year. I mean, I just don't see though them beating Bama. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Alabama will get the win on it. I don't think it'll be as close of a game as what this was, but then looking forward, like I said, you're either going to be facing Tennessee or Georgia in the final. Question is, though, if, say, Georgia beats Tennessee, but then Alabama turns around and beats Georgia, how do you, as a CFP person, you put Tennessee in? Yeah, they beat Alabama in the regular season, but Bama turned around and beat Georgia, who beat them. And then, Georgia, they'd only have one loss. Us, and then Alabama would only have one loss. So you have 3 1-loss teams, and all three of those teams can make an argument for whoever went in. Oh, we beat one of them, type of deal. And I guess the only thing you do is you put all three in and throw Ohio State in there. If Ohio State goes undefeated, if they beat Michigan and then win the Big Ten championship, do you throw all them and push Clemson out? Oh, or with Clemson playing Syracuse this week. I mean, what really would help this would be if Syracuse could pull the win over Clemson, and then if they lose to, I think they still got a pretty tough schedule with like NC State left and North Carolina, and I think they have one other ranked team on their schedule left when I looked earlier. So it's like Clemson could pull one of these teams out technically, I guess, because Clemson could be undefeated. So do you look at, if Ohio State and Clemson's undefeated 1-2, then who are you kicking out? Bama, Georgia, or Tennessee?
I mean, I think a lot of it's going to be how the teams look in their wins. You know what I mean? Obviously, they're gonna. Obviously Alabama should be Mississippi State. They should be LSU. They should be Ole Miss. But it's going to be how they do it. If these are close games, it's just like who cares? Screw Alabama. Same with Georgia. Same with Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee out of all the SEC teams, I would say have kind of looked the most consistent.
I mean,
I mean
they had
Alabama. I mean,
Tennessee's had 2 close games with Pitt early, which Pitt's not very good now. Like looking at them, they're unranked now. Tennessee barely won 34-27 and by touchdown. And then and Florida was a 38-33, so a 5-point game.
I know Georgia had a couple close ones. Alabama's had a couple close ones and a loss now. So it's just really going to depend on how they play against the teams they should beat, and obviously they have to win out. But I don't know. You obviously either Michigan or Ohio State's going to get in, and Clemson should win out. But it's going to be interesting. Anything can happen in college. So
I mean, personally, I would not surprise me. It'd be the first time it happened for 3 SEC teams to end up in the finals. I mean, like I said, if Clemson loses to like Syracuse and Syracuse turns around and leave or loses, as that knocks them out, it would throw these, that would basically secure these 3 teams, I think, in, as long as, whether Tennessee wins out or whether however it ends up for Alabama and Georgia type of deal. The only thing that would screw it would be if, Alabama has another loss type of deal. So,
yeah,
oh, I mean, I know Alabama's had a couple close games with Texas A&M, but I I can't weigh that too heavy because Bryce Young wasn't there. I mean, I know it was a close game, but that was a backup quarterback coming in. Texas A&M was a ranked team at the time, and it's like, how do you justify that Alabama was the same team that played then as what would be coming into the playoffs, with Bryce Young? And I think if
yeah,
Bryce Young was there, that wouldn't even been a game. And then with them losing to Texas or Tennessee, I had the close game with Texas, which again, Texas, I think with their starting quarterback, if he would have stayed in, Bama could have lost that game. But uh, I think they pulled it together and was able to get the win out of that. And like I said, I think this defense is just so young, and offensively overall, we're pretty young. So it's definitely not like the normal dominant Bama team, but it's still a good team. It's to me a top 4 team that deserves a shot in the playoffs to prove themselves. I'm not as confident as I was at the beginning of the season before everything got started that they were going to be champs again. But I still have hope and still think they could do it if they play to their full potential.
yeah. I agree.
Let's go. We'll jump into this Alabama versus uh Mississippi State this week. Like, personally, I don't know. To me, it shouldn't be a game. My little worry is coming off such a strong game like this with such a good opponent. You know, as with how many shots Bryce Young took in the game, and then just overall, it's a big game, big opponent. are they up to the full task, or are they going to be tired, exhausted a little bit, ready for the bye week that's coming? You know, so I don't think it's a blowout like what normally would come. I think they're just gonna be looking to get the win, move on into the bye week, and prepare for the rest of the season. And is my personal opinion, Mississippi State, one of their biggest struggles is run defense, and Alabama can run the ball. Obviously, we've seen that against Tennessee, with the stats and stuff that we feel like they should have ran it a little more. So I think they kind of go a little bit run heavy, try to control the clock a little bit more. It might not be as high scoring as what normally. It's probably not going to be as much of a blowout as normal. Oh, I think they're just looking to get to that bye week. So I don't think it's a huge, like a 21-point spread covered here. I think it's like a 2-touchdown win by Bama with just controlling the game the whole time. The good thing is at Bama, so we don't have to deal with like a crowd or anything. Don't have to deal with the cowbells at Mississippi State, it being at Bama. So that's kind of what I look at this game. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I mean, a lot of teams you would say, being such a high ranked team, they could overlook a team, and you never know what happened. But after coming off a tough loss like that, you just know Saban and these guys, just their mentality, the way they kind of run things, are going to come out just to blow them out, and they kind of have to. They have to blow out the teams they should. And so, I mean, like you said, I don't know if it's a 21-point game, but I could see 14 to 17 points pretty easy. So, I mean, Mississippi State just can't handle it. Like I said, the run defense. Alabama needs to run the ball. Bryce Young needs to stay healthy, do the smart things like he always does. And I think this is a big game for Alabama's defense to kind of regroup and start figuring some stuff out because they've been struggling a little bit, and this would be a good game to get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State does have a decent pass team offensively. So I think we'll see a little bit of a struggle there still for Bama. Hopefully they're making the right adjustments and kind of getting the right reads, and hopefully they don't get beat. I mean, that'd be the biggest thing is like, I don't care if you keep giving up like 15 yards here, 10 yards here, little dump off passes as that tend to come in college, but you just cannot give up the big plays. And then two, turnover, battle. We haven't been really winning that. I think we did tie one each, I think, last game in Tennessee, if I remember right. But just, yeah, because we gave up the one muff punt mistake last week. So I know we turned that one over, gave them a short field. Oh, and then the week before we got killed in turnover battle. We gave up like 4, made it way closer than what it should have been. So, that's one thing. It's cleaning up those turnovers and then making sure that, yeah, we keep our guys in front of us, do not get burnt deep. I think those are key focuses from our defensive standpoint this week to kind of get back on track with that. And then, yeah, offensively manage the game a little bit better, in my opinion, with our play calls. I'll run the ball a little bit more. I think we'll be able to really run the ball. I don't be surprised if you see a 50 or 60 yarder busted out by a Gibbs in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we got big things to watch this week, I think, and I guess join us next week for Alabama talk. Roll Tide.